Hello guys, in this video we are going to discuss the solution of the problem wildcard pattern matching. So let us look at the problem statement. The problem statement says given two strings pattern and str which may be of different size, you have to return 1 if the wildcard pattern, that is pattern, matches with the string, else return 0. All characters of the string str and pattern always belong to alphanumeric characters. The wildcard pattern can include the characters question mark and star, where question mark matches any single character and star matches any sequence of characters, including the empty sequence. Note, the matching should cover the entire str, not partial str. So for instance, if the pattern is ba star a question mark and the string is this, then the pattern matches, because of which we are returning 1. So that's about the problem statement, folks. Now let us discuss the solution of this problem. So in order to discuss the solution of this problem, let us take an example. So let us say the pattern and string are these. Let us say m equals to length of string and n equals to length of pattern. Then in such case, we need a DP table whose size is m plus 1, m plus 1 and n plus 1. So let us take a DP table of this dimension. So let us say this is the DP table. This is our string. So as you can see, baaabab our string, and this part is our pattern. And I have appended both the string and pattern with an empty string epsilon. Now let us populate our DP table. Since the empty pattern matches with empty string, because of which we are going to mark it as true, and for the remaining field of this row, all the values will be false, because an empty pattern cannot match a string whose length is greater than 1, because of which all these fields are false. Similarly, a pattern of length 1 cannot match an empty string, because of which this entry will be false. Now let us proceed for others. Here, as we can see, B and B matches. So let's look over here. Let us say this is our string and this is our pattern. So let us say we are at some position here and here, where this position is represented by J and this position is represented by I. Now in our case, and which is our case 1, if pattern I equals to pattern J, the ith character of pattern and jth character of string matches, then in such case the value of DP table I comma j will be equals to DP of I minus 1 comma j minus 1. What do we mean by this? Is essentially this position and this position matches. All we have to do is we have to check whether this and this matches or not. As you can see, this position is j minus 1 and this position is I minus 1, because of which the solution will be there in the DP table I minus 1 comma j minus 1, and that is what we are filling it over here. So let us use this logic in order to populate the rest of the table. Now since over here B and B matches, so all we have to check is I minus 1 and j minus 1 matches or not. In this case it matches, because of which we are going to mark it as true. In the case where the pattern does not matches with the string, so for instance B does not matches with A, we are simply going to mark it as false. So let us keep marking these false. Again, at this position we can see B and B matches, but I minus 1 and j minus 1, the value is false over here, because of which this value will be false. In this position this is false since the character does not matches. Again, the last character matches, but the value over here is false, because of which we are going to mark it as false. Now let's proceed forward. So for this, again we are trying to match a pattern with an empty string, so the value will be false. A and B does not matches, so false. A and A matches, and since A and A matches, we are going to look at this entry. This also, since this entry is also true, because of which we are going to mark it as true. Again, A and A matches, but this entry is false, because of which this will be false. And the same goes for this case as well. Here the pattern does not matches, so false. Here the string does not matches, so false. And in this case, the string matches, but the I-1 and J-1 character does not matches, because of which it will be false. And false over here. Now let us deal with the wildcards. So here it is a wildcard. Whether a wildcard matches an empty string or not will be governed by the case what was the value in the pattern before. So what do I mean by this is, let us say my pattern is 2 stars and my string is something. So over here the first thing which we need to understand is whether star matches empty string. So the ith character of pattern is star and the string is an empty string. So this is my ith character of pattern and that is star and the string is an empty string. Now if let us say this has some concrete value, so let us say these are A and B, then clearly this does not matches, because of which for this case, which will be represented by dp of I comma 0, 0 means empty string and I means ith character of pattern, will be equals to false in this case. Whereas let us say my pattern is something like this and these two characters are also star, then in such case dp of I comma 0 will be equals to true. So in order to address this case, what we are going to do is, if j equals to 0, which simply means the string is an empty string and ith pattern is a star, in such case dp of I comma 0 will be given by dp of I minus 1 comma 0. What do we mean by this is, the wild character star matches with an empty string, but the value of I comma 0 will be equals to true or false will be determined by the pattern which comes before star. In this case, the pattern before star was A and B, and since the empty character cannot match with it, because of which we have marked it as false. In the other case, the pattern before to star was also an wildcard, since it matches, because of which we have marked it as true. And that is what we are able to achieve via this condition. So let us use this logic in order to populate our DP table. Now star matches with an empty string, but the pattern before to star is B and A, since they do not match, because of which this will be false. So now let us discuss for the cases where my pattern is a wildcard but string is not an empty string. So far we have discussed where the pattern is a wildcard but the string was an empty string. Now we are going to discuss the case where pattern is a wildcard, which is asterisk, and the string is not an empty string. So let us discuss that case. So over here, our ith character of pattern is a wildcard and string is not an empty string. So let us say my j is somewhere over here, and we want to fill up the value for dp of I comma j. And in this case, I is the wildcard, so this is the wildcard, and j is some string. Now since star can match any number of characters, because of which dp of I comma j can be equals to dp of I minus 1 comma j, which simply means whether this part of my string matches with this part of pattern. If it matches, then the value will be true, or dp of I comma j minus 1. And what does it mean? Well, it simply means that this character has been mapped by my special character, which is a star, and whether the remaining string, which is this string, can again be mapped by this pattern or not. This is what we are trying to achieve it over here. Now let us use this logic in order to populate our DP table. So in this case, the pattern is a wildcard, which is a star. So we just have to look at these two entries, which is this entry and this entry. If either of those two entries are true, then we are going to mark it as true, otherwise false. Since both the entries are false, so we are going to mark it as false. Similarly, for this case, we have to look at these two entries, this entry and this entry. Now since this entry is true, because of which we are going to mark it as true. And in the same way, we will be able to populate the rest of the cases. Now let us populate this row. So for this row again, this entry will be false, and here the character does not matches, so false. Here character matches and this entry is set to false, because of which the value will be false. For this case, the character matches and this entry is set to true, because of which we are going to mark it as true. Similarly over here, this will be false and this will be true and false. Now let us discuss for the case of a wildcard, where the wildcard is a question mark. Now since question mark simply means it matches one character, since it matches one character, because of which it cannot match with an empty string, because of which we are going to mark it as false. Over here, question mark matches with B, and then we have to look at this entry in order to see whether the pattern matches completely or not. Since it does not matches, we are going to mark it as false. And the same logic we are going to use to fill up the rest of the cells. Let us discuss it in a bit more and then we will populate our cells. So let us say this is my ith pattern and this is my jth string. Now in this case, my ith pattern is a question mark. Now since it is a question mark, so this and this matches. Now since this and this matches, whether the pattern matches the entire string or not will be determined by whether the string is able to match with the remaining pattern. So over here, we wanted to fill the value of I, j, and since j is a question mark, so the value will be filled up by dp of I minus 1, j minus 1, which is the same as for the cases where pattern of I matches with string of j. So let us use the same logic in order to fill this. So this value will be false, false, true, true, false, and true. And in this way, we will be able to populate our DP table, and the answer which we are going to return is this character. Since this is set to true, because of which we are going to return true. So that's the discussion of solution, folks. Now let us discuss the pseudocode of this problem. So let us say we want to match wildcards, pattern and string is given to us. So let us say m equals to len of string and n equals to len of pattern. So let us have a DP table of size n plus 1 and m plus 1. And the default values for all these entries is set to false. Now let us first populate for the case where pattern is a star and string is an empty string. So let us populate for this case. So for I in range of n plus 1, all we have to do is we have to check whether my ith character I minus 1 equals to star. If this is equals to star, then as we have discussed, dp of I, 0 will be given by dp of I minus 1, 0. And now let us iterate for the rest of the cases. So for I in range of n plus 1, and we will start from first character, and for j in range of 1 to m plus 1. The first thing which we are going to check is if pattern of I equals to star. If this is equals to star, then dp of I, j, as we have discussed for the case of star, dp of I, j will be given by dp of I minus 1, j or dp of I, j minus 1. If pattern equals to question mark or ith pattern equals to jth character, then in such case dp of I, j will be given by dp of I minus 1, j minus 1. And in the cases where they are not equal and the first two cases are not satisfied, in such case dp of I, j will simply be equals to false. And in this way, we will be able to populate our DP table, and towards the end, all we have to return is DP of m, n. So that's the discussion of pseudocode, folks. Now let us see how we have implemented this in Python. So the implementation is pretty much the same as what we have discussed. There is a DP table. The first case is matching an empty string with an empty pattern, and that value will be true. And then the special case where pattern is equals to star and the string is an empty string. For such case, dp of I, 0 will be given by dp of I minus 1, 0. Otherwise, we are iterating on the dp table and we are populating the dp table as we have discussed. And towards the end, we are returning the last cell of the dp table. So that's the Python code, folks. Now let us submit our solution. So our Python code got accepted. That is all from this video, folks. In case if you have any question or comment regarding this video, please feel free to use the comment section and I'll try to address them. Thank you.